Okay, so let's kick it off. 7:36. So we'll see how we go. So as mentioned, my name is Nick Fredrickson. Thanks for your time tonight. Please unmute your mic whenever you've got a question. Otherwise, leave it back off just to keep a nice quiet environment there. So we'll just go through a quick overview about what it is that we're here about tonight. So the main thing is about RaceHQ, but just a bit of a snapshot as to what all the moving parts are that allow RaceHQ to do its functions that we're trying to get it to do. So traditionally, the registrations are coming in from IMG or Sports Technology Group. Oops, someone else is joining. Just wait till Michelle's joined in. Hey Michelle, how are you? You can hear us okay, Michelle? I'll assume so, and we'll just get started. So,
Okay.
you got us? Cool. All right, so leave your mic off unless you got a question there, Michelle. But welcome to the group. So get rid of that. So the registration start with IMG Sports Technology Group. Press a button in Results HQ, and that will bring across your active and financial members. So once your active and financial members are in Results HQ and you've set up an age, gender event, then that means down here in Race HQ, the next time you turn it on, you'll bring down the latest members, latest PBs, records, and the events that you've got on that day or tomorrow or the upcoming week. So each will go and load the appropriate events. We've got 60-meter hurdles, we've got 100 meters, 800 and 1500, that sort of thing. You can also use RaceHQ to talk to high-tech meet manager. So we pretend to be a photo finish or video timing bit of software for the day when really we're using the timing gates, but we provide a file that Meet Manager considers to be photo finish and can work with the two between RaceHQ and Meet Manager for the day. But the cool part is obviously the moment we've ran races, if we do have internet available, because RaceHQ doesn't need internet to operate versus Results HQ, just like NetBank and Facebook and so on, is web-based. So if we are running live internet as we're running races, and we have the option in the settings turned on to upload race by race, then we'll be pushing up race by race to Results HQ, and that means the families will be getting near live results in their family area. Otherwise, if we've got 100 races from the morning or the evening saved up, then we can go into saved events and upload all, and then we'll be able to go and get all those results straight across, and the kids will be able to see them once it's finished uploading. That's just a bit of a reminder in case it's been a while over winter, if you need a bit of a refresher as to what it's all about, or you're new to it as well, and just to give you a bit of a snapshot with all the moving parts. Any questions around this screen and what it is and how it all works? No? Okay, so just move on. So tonight, we're just going to run through an overview to start with, which is where we'll spend pretty well the whole of tonight's session, is going through these first couple bits here. We're going to be in the software, the timing software, the new 3 series, and we're just going to be running through different scenarios. You're going to be asking questions, bringing up issues that you've had or issues that you heard of or questions relating to something or other, and that's how we're going to try and tick through these items here. So if there's no questions, I'll just jump straight in and we'll get started. Okay, so just jump out of here. So as mentioned, the RaceHQ is a Windows-based application, meaning that you need to have a Windows laptop or a Windows tablet to operate it. Just opening up a little package here that I've got at the start of iPhone. I'm supposed to do all this before my laptop crashes, sorry, a little bit of background noise. So what do we have here? We've got The 3 series. Why is it called 3 series? What does that actually mean? If you look at the version that says V3, then this current version is 1932. So the 3 series will have a 3 in the first part of the name versus the current and the one that we've been running with last season and so on is called a 2 series, or it's 2 dot some other combination. But the 3 series is the new one we're looking at tonight. The background behind the 3 series is that it's all about trying to bring the 5 or so different applications that we've got available into one. So we used to only have the timing software for our own gates and for non-gated. Then there was a separate one if you're doing swimming. There was a separate one if you're doing RFID. There were separate ones to go and run your ATP. There was a 201 and a 301. So basically, all these different applications all had lots of similarities, but they're all split out. So to save ourselves on making sure we've covered off every little update or bug or so on across all those different platforms, we've brought it all into one. So when we start up this application, we'll notice it's called 3 dot something or other. So that's the 3 series. That's the first giveaway. The next giveaway is once it's set up and running, the landing screen or the home screen is much different to what you may remember from the past. There is a little wizard that by default will turn on. So I'm just going to go to settings and general and show tips on startup. I'm just going to restart the application. So this is what you would normally see for the first time you downloaded this application. Just designed to try and help people get familiar with the setup screen that they've just landed in. So here we go. Before we start, let's go through some of the basics of the setup process. Choose the event type, so sprints, pack, lanes, whatever it was. The direction of the sun, make sure you click on the appropriate side of the screen. How many lanes do you need? 8 lanes, 10 lanes, 1 lane. Which lane are you starting from? Maybe you start from lane 3 because 1 and 2 is always open. Start turning on your start devices down the bottom. And then when you're ready, click Go Race. So with this, I can keep clicking back and forward on these different screens if I need to go and revisit something because it moved too fast, so it's still absorbing the message. If we've had enough of it, it will default as well. But as I hit skip, it gives me the option, do I want to see this again on startup? If you're familiar with it and you don't want to see it again, then hit no, and it won't come back again, unless you go up to settings and change that. So for tonight's purposes, we're going to be having a look at this setup screen and some of the differences. So here, this is where I choose I've got sprints, or I've got pack, or if I'm using RFID, if I'm using swimming, so the manual triggers for lane swimming. Got my same gates that I use from 100 and 200 and so on, but I'm setting them up differently for acceleration. Saved events, this is one that you go to a lot. That's where you need to go if you want to look at historical events or go and upload all from the saved events at the end of a night or an end of a morning. Or if you're going to network from one computer to another, then that's the saved events. Start line is if you're using a handicap scenario where you've got different athletes starting off different times, or even say a cross country or a triathlon where you've got different waves happening, then that gives you like a Tour de France start house where you've got the countdown to athlete A about to go and then beeps them in, beep, 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 and off they go. Barcodes, if you need to print bib barcodes and so on, then that's where you find that one. If you're using some sort of photo finish, Amiga, or if you're using finish links for your 2 different sorts of photo finish cameras, then this will read in those files. Or if you happen to be at a swimming pool for a school carnival and they're using touchpads with the Swiss, what's that one called again? The Swiss swimming one, Quantum, that's it. Then you can read in the finish from that and be able to process it. And then down the bottom here are our 2 ATP softwares. But for tonight's purpose, we're going to stay mostly on sprint and pack. So I'm just jumping into sprints. Any questions so far? No? Now for simplicity, I've only got 3 gates with me here, or 2 lanes worth. So I'm just selecting 2. Whatever you select will be the same as what it opens up with next time. So if you're an 8-lane setup and you chose 8, then next week if you come back in and you always use sprints, it'll open up to sprints and 8-lane and ready to go where you were last time. But I don't have 8 lanes, so I'm going back here to 2 lanes to use my 3 poles. Now the arrow direction. We've had quite a few people, even experienced users, that didn't really know. They got the concept, but they didn't really know why the arrows needed to be pointed a particular way. So this here, it's trying to tell us the base arrow points to the sunniest side. So if this is lane 1 on this side, this is lane 2 on this side, or lane 8 in most cases, if the sun's coming up or going down on this side of the track, then we make sure the arrows on our bases are pointing this way. Otherwise, if it was the opposite, if the sun was coming up or going down on this side of the track, even though that's still lane 1 and that's still lane 2, then we have the arrows on our bases out on the track pointing towards lane 1, as well as the screen to match that. And the reason for that is on the arrows side, when you plug a gate into the base, assuming you put it in correctly, the side that plugs into there with the power and the on-off button, that is only sending light. It's only trying to send a light beam from this gate to that gate, or from this gate to this gate. So it's only trying to send light. So if it's facing into the direct sun, it's cool with that, because all it's trying to do is send a light beam. However, on the back side of the gate, so on this side of the gate here, it's looking for the beams from its brother across the way. So if you happen to have, just like you, not wanting to look at the sun, neither do the back side of the gate. So the back side of the gates we always have facing away from the sun, or the sunniest side of the track. So that means all our arrows with our sending side is pointing towards the sunniest side, versus the back side of each gate where the eyes are hidden inside the tube. They've got their back to the sun and they're quite happy with that. So that's a long-winded explanation of why. And the reason why it may be different to what if you're using some other gates in the past is because these are built to work on grass, so they're allowed to have movement. They're not mechanically held together by an overhead structure. So to allow for that, we had to make the aperture, or the view angle within the tube, bigger to allow for the grass to make the gates out of alignment by a little bit. But to do that, we also let in more light, being more sunlight too. So short answer is arrows to the sunny side of the track, and make sure the gates are facing the appropriate way as well on the screen. Any questions about that? Or any stories or concerns or thoughts? No? Okay, so what we're going to do, I'm just going to go to my inside of lane 1, as it's telling me up the top here, connect unit on the inside lane 1. Turn it on. Hopefully you can hear that through my little microphone here. So I've just turned on the inside of lane 1. I'm now going to turn on the one between 1 and 2, which is this one here that it's telling me to do. It's come up red, but then it's going to flip automatically and try and find it in the other direction. There we go. So it tried one way, couldn't see it, tried the other way, but then came back to the original direction that it was at. So I didn't click that. That's it trying to find green lights for you. So in case you weren't aware what these were on the screen, it's trying to help you out and actually find the correct direction to look for you. So now we've got 4 green bars on the screen which relate to the 4 beams on the gates themselves. So that's me running my hand down the screen. And what that's trying to do is let you know if there's an issue. So if we see this on one gate, that's telling me that there's an issue with the second from the bottom beam on lane 1, because I've got my hand over the beam. If I release my hand, then we don't see it. If I see this one, it tells me the second from the top beam has an issue. Go have a look. Don't go past this gate setup So don't move on to lane 2 until you've got this sorted. Otherwise, you're just going to start digging a hole for the rest of your morning. So take your time on this. If you see any reds, don't continue. Sort them out, understand them. Or if you have to, switch out a gate to then go and get a replacement gate to put in there if you need to. But don't ignore it, thinking it'll be okay, and just go and run some races, because you will have an issue, I dare say, with that lane. Now, a good little tip here. One beep was when I turned it on. The second beep was when it connected and came up with a green tick. The third beep, if I run my hand down through each of these beams, you may have heard that last little beep. So if I do that again, that's as I cut just the bottom beam. A second after it, I get a beep. So if I'm out on the track and I can't actually see the laptop because it's really sunny and it's all the way on the other side of the track, as long as I can hear my gates, then I know if they're okay. So if I run my hand down and then hear that last beep, that's good. If I hear a beep, see, now I've just covered the second from the top beam. If I hear a beep up the very top here, then without even looking at the screen, I know that my second from the bottom beam has an issue, because I'm getting a trigger noise, that beep, without even getting down to the bottom beam. So the gates need 2 adjacent beams as a minimum to get a time. So again, if I cover one beam and start to go from the top down and get a beep straight away just from covering that top beam, I know I've got an issue, and it's to do with the next beam, because I need 2 adjacent beams as a minimum. If I had this bottom one here covered and I ran my hand down, nothing, and then beep, then I know I've got an issue with the second from the bottom, because again, I need 2 adjacent beams. So this here is where you take your time. 1 beep on, second beep as it connects, and third beep as you run your hand down through each of the beams until you cut that bottom beam. And what that bottom beam about, we've got a little Ewok sensor. So you've got your little tiny tots, the little kids. If only the bottom beam gets cut and nothing else for 1 second after that bottom beam was cut, it gives you a time, because we're assuming that it was just a little kid or someone that tripped and fell through and only was able to cut the bottom beam. Then we go, okay, nothing else happened. So it wasn't a leading knee followed by the hip and then the rest of the body. So it wasn't that scenario. It was just something cutting the bottom beam. So the assumption is it's a little kid, and it flags it on the screen for you to say that that was the bottom beam, in case you looked at it and you're like, hang on, why do I have a time there? They've got a little icon on the side that's just for 1 beam. So we can run through that in the real screen. But the idea here is if I run my hand down, I should only get a beep once I've cut that bottom beam. Have I harped on enough about that? Everyone's got that clear enough in their mind? Any questions about that? All clear. So now I'll move on to my next gate. So again, I'm going to press it once, twice as it connects, and then the third time as I run my hand down through the gates and cut just that bottom beam. So now, without looking at the screen, I know that I've got 2 lanes set up and that all my beams are happy. Now the last thing I need to do on this screen is turn on my start device. Make sure you do it on this screen, not when you get through the race screen. So I've just turned it on. Now I've got a little picture of the start device unit, so that's it there. If I wanted this start device unit to actually be a trigger, then I just click on the green, bring it across here. I've now got a trigger unit instead of a start device, meaning I want to do some manual finishes, then I can use that. But the default is to come over here and to start as a start unit. Some people ask why there are 2 start devices opportunities and 1 trigger. That's because some centres have overlapping races. So they're running, say, 70 meters and 200 meters at the same time. So they start the 70s, they're obviously nice and quick. Shortly after, they start the 200s, because obviously they take a lot longer than the 70. We've got two different starters at two different locations on the track. That's what that's for. So for most people, it's like, oh my God, no, don't want to do that. Sweet. Just leave that one start device connected and off you go. So at this point in time, I've got my gates on. They're all green, ticks and happy. I've got my start device on. We're ready to go race. So I'm going to click the button. I'm just going to maximize the screen. Now just some basics about navigation. So up the top here, we've got to go back to setup. So we're back here. I want to go race again. I hit go race and we come back. For those of you that are familiar with the 2 Series, there were lots of ticks and then a second round of ticks before you came through to this screen, which is always, not always, but could be a bit precarious. It could potentially not have a tick against a lane, and those sorts of scenarios where then you had to go and get that gate to connect, so it could become a bit painful. Versus with this, you don't have to do that, as in the software doesn't try and do that now, so it's much quicker and more robust going back and forward between. So that's how you get back to setup. This here is if member status, more to do if you're doing bigger races like a triathlon, and if you want to know who's left on the course, who hasn't finished yet out of all your starters. If you want to get to the start line, and that's where you get to it up there. If you want to get to your saved events, then we can get to it here. That's the help area. So if I click on this, it'll open up a new area, which takes me to the RaceHQ, which, by the way, if you wanted to have a play with this 3 Series, this is everything in here. So we've got the normal RaceHQ. So if we go to the support forum, this is RaceHQ. All of this is built around the 2 Series, but down here we're starting to bring in the 3 Series, which is the one we're playing with tonight. Just going back. So now we've got our race screen. This here is our timing hub, so it lets us know that we're connected. This is our settings. Lots of options in here as usual. So if I want the timing application to sync all my members on startup, then I have that ticked, and every time I tick it on, we'll bring down our members. If we want to use the start line process, which we can run through tonight, automatically upload when I'm pressing save, upload events that have not been created. So that's a special one if you, not so important for little athletics, so I'll gloss over that one. If we're using handicaps and if we're going to do triggers during the race, again, that's more for your RFID or pack races. In general, we've got lots of options. So we've still got the heats to finals and show divisions, reset when you start a new race. So there's lots of things here you can have a look at. The main ones that most people are interested in is microphone sensitivity on their start device and the delay from when you start a race before the lanes become active, which is 5 seconds at the moment. So, starting a race, the usual story there, pull the trigger on the cap gun or press the start button on your device. So I just press the start button on my device, start the clock, we've got our 5-second delay. They were grey, now they're green again. If I need to keep ignoring times, then I can press and hold this. So that's handy if you've got a lot of rain or there's a bunch of kids about to run through the gates during your race. You can press and hold this and you won't get, sorry, just start the next race. You may get the beeps from the gates, but I haven't got any times because I was ignoring this. I'm just going to rerun this top race. So right now we've got 2 lanes, they're happy, I can see what they're up to, my start device is happy, I can see what it's up to. I haven't selected a distance yet, but I might as well while I'm here. So we've got 100 meters, and then that's my 1 beam. So I only cut the bottom beam, hence we've got this little icon over here, 1 red, 3 green. That's what that's telling me about. I moved my arm through this gate quickly. So I've got 2 times there. I went out and back. So I've got 2. If I wanted the second time to become the time I want to use, I can just click on it and drag it up on top of itself. So now that's the new time. If this time was actually bogus, it was an athlete running through and we didn't actually have anyone finish in that lane, I could click it and drag it down to the bin. We've now got a new first place. Or let's say an athlete tripped and crawled across the line. So we didn't actually get a time for them, but I was watching and I saw that they must have come second because I was watching. So I'm just going to right click, edit time, add one in. So make that 59 seconds flat. Yes, I'm sure. We've now got second place and that's them. If I need to, I could change this to DQ or participate or DNF or something else for any of these guys. But now we're up to keying in the time or the names. So option one is, the quickest one is key in the member number. So in this case, I'm just going to key in number 1 and press enter. And it's brought up a 17 male. The next athlete doesn't actually have a number, but they do have a name because I've just asked them, what's your name? Timmy. Hi, Timmy. Where's your bib? Left it at home. Okay. Give me your hand. Pull out my fat texter. All right, you are number 161. Don't forget it. That will save me time next time. Thank you, Timmy. So we've got an 11 male and we've got a 17 male. We've got a first and a second, and they're their times. We're happy with everything we're seeing. I can see that there's a PB here for Timmy. I haven't got any records. Obviously some slow hundreds happening there. And we've also got this one beam time. So I'm happy with everything I'm seeing. I'm just going to go and press save. And it's going to try and upload that data. And we're now on to the next race. I do have the option to key in names before the race starts if I wanted to. I just put in number 3 and number 4 before the race starts. So if we've got someone on the two-way down at the start line and you want to call out names over the two-way, who's in what lane before the kids run, then by all means you can do that. So I'm just going to start the next race. Waiting for the times to come through. So 5 seconds and this will green out. There we go. There's 2 times. It waits 5 seconds after the last lane is filled before it stops automatically. Now, for some reason, we actually have to add 2 seconds to all of this. There was some mechanical reason, some reason that was valid. So if I wanted to add 2 seconds to this time and this time, I just hit this plus and the minus. I'm going to add on 2 seconds. I've got the add, not the subtract happening. And now they've gone from 8 seconds to 10 and so on. Happy with everything that I'm seeing here, and go and press save. It's going to try and upload if it can, if there's a matching age gender event, and off we go again. One more thing I didn't show you just before, if I key some more names in, now that we've got some age and genders on the screen and the distance, if I click on this, it will show me the relevant records that are available for the 11 male 100 and the 12 male 100. So let's go and get a time, which is quicker than those. One thing as well, up the top it's got an E. That means electronic start. If I did a manual start, it would have an M in the bracket there. I'm just going to open up some extra columns here to have a look at some of the extra data. So I've got record, that's what I didn't have showing, and type if I want. So here we go, we've got our little record icon showing, so it shows me there's potential records there, and it tells me the type, so it came from lane 1 and lane 2, which is pretty obvious in this scenario. If I needed to sort this by place, I can click on the place column and I'll flip it around, or by lane, and so on. And we press save, and we're going up again. Any questions so far? Everyone's very quiet, which either means I'm answering all your questions or...
Can you hear me, Nick?
Yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah, you were had the race results then, and with the lanes, you were putting the kids' bid numbers in. What we do is have a scan gun.
Yep.
To scan the kids. They come over in lane order, and we scan them, and the results go straight in. Is there somewhere we need to go to set up that scan, the scan gun, so it automatically puts the kids in the correct lane? Is that something that...
Yeah, good question. So assuming when you mean a scan gun, we're talking about a barcode scanner?
Yes.
That's it. So no, as long as your computer is happy with that scanner, that it knows that scanner and it's got the appropriate drivers, then as long as your cursor is in the correct location,
whatever scans goes in there.
That's it. Yep. So they'll all be the same as business as usual on that front.
Yep. Okay.
Cool. Now we did last season with the 2 series because you're at Geelong, is that right, Tim?
Yeah, we're all at Geelong.
Yep. So I know that there was some challenges with overlapping races and some times from one race going into the next race and so on.
Do we have that modelling with 400s?
Look, yeah, we used to run 2 events at once.
Yeah.
But it's only if something really went terribly wrong.
Yeah. What we tend to have, Nick, is 2 sets of time gates, one for the front straight and one for the back straight.
Yep.
And we'll run, hundreds down one and hurdles down the other. And then we might get to the point where we take one set of gates away and we'll run 400-metre races.
Yep.
But we might start the second race when the first race is still in progress.
That's it. Yep. That's your overlapping races up
here. But I
can't whether or not we've had... We didn't have any major issues as long as we had them all scanned and off and sent.
Yep.
All saved. Next race finished, we were okay.
Okay.
But just if something went wrong, we've had some where we've got the faster ones, or the slow age group, and we get the next age group after that, and they're faster. And the runners overlap. That happens.
Yeah, just the handicapping. Cool. Well, there was some centres that had some challenges where the times were relative to the first race, even though the second race had started in the second race. So just letting you know that that's been fixed up in this version, so you shouldn't be seeing that if you had seen that one. So the same protocol.
I think we had that.
You didn't have that? That's okay then.
No.
We just make it up as we go anyway.
Nice. That's what it's about. Smoke and mirrors, everyone. Smoke and mirrors. So just to let you know, you still can do your overlapping races. So I've started one race here. Just start the next. So we've got 1 minute 40 here, and we've got 5 seconds about to start up here. Finish some times in this one. That will automatically stop. I can ask it to stop, but now that this has stopped, we're up to nearly 20 seconds here. I can get some times on that back race, and I'll just put some names in. Just save. So that was around the 20-second marker when I was triggering those, and they've now come up to allow then the next race to start. When we're ready, you get that happening. So that's the overlapping races there. Start the next race. So you can do that still, is what I was trying to say. So what we've got now, we've been running a few races. Sometimes a scenario, I'm just going to rerun this one. Sometimes a scenario comes along where you as the computer operator, you need to go and obviously go to the toilet, or someone's come up with an issue, or there's a delay for some reason, and you've got overlapping race turned on. The starter, they're not aware of what's happening at the finish line. They're just looking at the start device and making sure the light's solid, and then making sure their athletes are ready, and then they'll start them when they're ready, because that's what the solid light is telling them. If you ever need to put the race on hold, so by ticking this, you'll see that that is now blinking, and I'm just going to look at my start device, and it's now blinking too. It's a different sort of blink. It's nice and slow, like what you see up the top on the screen is what's happening on the start device. So that tells the starter, all right, I can't start a race. They're on hold for whatever reason. The moment I come up here and I untick this, once it gets through the start device, which is around now, it then tells the starter, okay, business as usual again, let's get up and running. So that's what that race on hold is about. It just gives you a breather if you need one. If you're not running overlapping races, then the only time you'd need that is if you've already pressed save or delete, because that's what tells the start device to get busy again. Question?
Can I ask a quick question there? Sorry.
Yep.
When you've got the race on hold, will it actually stop the start device for actually starting the race?
Yes, so the start device can't start it. So if the starter pulls the trigger on the gun without noticing it, well then the kids will obviously start running because they've heard the loud bang, but the timer on the screen here won't start.
Okay, so we'd have to pull them up and get them to start again then.
Correct, if that was the scenario. So relies on the starter being aware of that light and just...
Realise the issue.
Yeah. Yes, some things we can't control. Okay, so I'm just going to delete or save this one. Same goes for the ignore. If we're in a race and we've got a long ignore period for some reason, I don't want to keep holding this, I can just tick this and it'll stay on. But obviously make sure you untick that before the kids come home or you won't get times. So that's what that little box is about there. These columns are also expandable, so I can make them as big or as small as I want. And if I need to turn some columns off, then I can come in here, untick them, and work with it that way. Also previously, if I wanted to add events, I had to go up to settings and go to the event list and start doing things there, versus I can just click on edit events and it'll open settings, event list, and take me straight there. Any questions so far? We've covered off.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, Nick.
Yeah, Michelle.
We got everything set up at the moment. We've done 2 races. How did I get to my second race?
What do you mean your second race, sorry?
Well, we've hit our start timer.
Yep.
We've come on the screen as the first race.
Yep.
We ran through it, and then we've still got our second race going.
Yep, so you need to press stop if you haven't already on your current race. If there's no stop, if you only see save or delete, then hit save or delete.
Save or delete. Yeah. And then the second one comes up.
That's it. So you've got to finish your current one before you can move on to your next one.
Oh, okay.
And then you just keep overlapping in that sequence. Finish your current, then do your next. Finish the current, then do your next.
Oh, okay.
Good one. Good question. Any others? Anyone else out there playing in real time, or is everyone's got some popcorn and a beer and just watching right now?
Nick?
Yep.
Okay, let's do
When you go into that saved and you've got like your athletes and that you can upload later.
So I'm going to go here now, saved events. Yeah.
Yeah. How do you delete those there?
You can't. As in these blank ones, they're because in a race you had no names there. So if every lane had a name, a known entity, then when I go back to saved events, to that missing entries, boom, they're all gone.
Oh, okay
so
then.
This is the screen that's trying to give you a heads up as to any of the anomalies that have happened, anyone that wasn't known. This is where you find them quickly.
Oh, okay, so on the Friday night when we go to actually upload all our races, they won't upload.
Yes, if they're on this little front screen, the missing entries screen, then they are not known and they won't get uploaded.
Oh, okay. All right.
However, if there's an age gender event that doesn't match up, then you won't be able to upload anyway. So if I try and upload these ones now, there's only one of the 2 was able to, because I didn't have a 12 male 100 set up for tonight. So I can see the 7 male is uploaded, but the 12 male hasn't.
So how I've got my meet set up on the for Friday night.
Yep.
How do I get that into RaceHQ?
If you just do a web refresh, so if you go up to settings.
Matthew, can you go to settings? Go to settings.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then the web tab is the default. Just hit refresh.
Yeah, some of my password's not right.
So you better sort that out and then do a refresh. And then that will bring down your age, gender, event combinations for that next available meet.
I've got member data loaded and record data loaded.
And have you got event data loaded?
No.
Yeah, so go and sort out your password. If it came up with an error message, then just kill your mic and go and sort that out and then try a refresh again.
All right.
Good questions there. So this is the saved event screen. So just to refresh to get to there, we came up to the top. So if I needed to during the race, like during the morning or the evening, someone says, hey, can you please check out race 27? I just need to see what a time was, or I need to fix up something, then just come up here to saved events. Open this out if I want, or I can use these little blue arrows and start scrolling through the different screens. And again, it's got this little E here, which is telling me that these are all electronic starts. Then I could come in here and I could edit a name or a number, or even edit a time, or bin a time if I need to. And then when I'm ready, I can go and re-upload if I haven't uploaded already. So that's what this saved event screen is about. Got a variety of reports there, and otherwise I can just go and do an upload all, and we'll go and push everything up. Any questions? Everyone's comfortable with how to set up a sprint race? If I needed to turn a lane off because we're about to run 800, so I'm not using lane 1, then I come up here and I'd untick that. Oh, that's interesting. We've just got a crash. That will be logging something through. This is a good little test. So it's trying to crash. So I can just go task manage. And I'm just going to kill the app. End task. That's gone. Restart. So that's going to save a little log file on my computer. So I need to go and try and find that. It would normally try and email that, but it looked like a bit of a funny one. So I'm just going to reconnect my gates quickly. Because they're already on, I'm just going to press the on button quickly on the gate. I'm not going to hold it, I'm just going to dab it. So it's just a dab, not a hold, just like a little beep on the button. There's the next one. And there's the next one. Turn my device, start device off. Wait for that light to go out. Turn it back on. Go race. So now back through. So what I was trying to do was just turn off lane 1 and get that to happen. And all that that's trying to do now is just ignore any time that comes out of lane 1 because we're not using it because we're about to run 800 through this lane. Once we're finished with doing those races and we want to use lane 1 again, just come and tick it back on and up we go from there. We can see down the bottom here it's just getting the gates ready. If I need to, there we go, it's just finished. If I need to, I can click on that. Now what we've also got in here, there's some extra smarts about if I cover a lane, a beam on a lane, I've just covered the bottom beam on lane 1 and it's just told me that lane 1 has an issue, check alignment, and it's brought up 4 dots, 1 is red, 3 are green. So it's telling me go have a look at your bottom beam on lane 1 because it's got an issue and it won't give me a time in this lane while that's still there. As soon as I move my finger away from the bottom beam, it's all good again. If I covered 2 beams on another combination there, it's telling me that lane 1 has an issue again, but it's the middle 2 beams because I'm covering those with my hands. So again, I won't get a time in this lane while I've got a red cross on this lane. My other one will run, I'll still be able to run a race. So lane 2 will get a time, but lane 1 won't. So I need to go and check out those 2 beams. I just move my hands away and it's happy again. So it's just some little diagnostics. Previously in the 2 series, if I had an issue with a lane like that, it wouldn't tell me which lane it had an issue with, or it may do, but it wouldn't tell me which beams. But it'd also prevent the start button from coming back up. So just be saying reading unit times and synchronizing. So some people wouldn't be able to get a start button up, so they'd have to go back to setup and play around and then come back in. So we're allowing you to keep running races, but we're going to tell you that this lane won't get a time. And while you won't get a time, but we're trying to help you and tell you which beams have an issue. So maybe there's a moth hanging out on your bottom beam because it's an evening session or something like that. Or some kids have come through and they've knocked the gate and it's out of alignment. Then it's trying to tell you why there's an issue. So if we wanted to run some pack races or non-gated races, what would I do from here? Who wants to walk me through the steps?
All right, we'll have a go.
Nice.
We have to go back to the menu page.
Yep, so how do I get back there?
Now we're in lane races. We run our pack races, obviously unlaned.
Yep. So how do I get back to that setup screen?
Up the top, setup, is that the button?
Bang, nice. Okay, back to setup. And then
at that sprints, the big one on the left-hand side there says sprints. Click on that and we get a pack.
Okay, cool. If I wanted to use lanes, how would I activate my lanes for pack racing?
Just click on the number of lanes.
There we go. So they're already
Choose how many
connected,
lanes.
so I don't have to go and turn them on or change anything around. So I go to sprint, they're all good. Or I go to pack, they're all good. Same with my start device. Everything's just transposed across to that next setup. Okay, if I didn't want to use gates, I'll leave them on for now, just so that we can at least show what that's about and talk about it. So if I did want to use gates, traditionally you've got 1 or 2 lanes. We give you a maximum of 3 to do that, but we'll just stay with 2. Has anyone ever played with the gates for pack racing or non-gated races?
No, for all our pack races, we just do manual start and stop. We don't use the box.
Okay, I'll just run through this just so you're aware, and then we'll go and do a manual one as well, okay? I'm just going to go race. So I've still got my lanes or gates set up here, but they're not as far as lane 1 and lane 2. I can only get 1 time per lane. So I'm just going to start a race again. We've got our 5-second dead time, usual story there. Now as I cut through here, we can see I've got a number of times from my finish from lane 2. Just got 1 from lane 1. Just use my shift key. Just use my trigger button on my start device. So if we are getting times in a pack race, and you do want to know where they came from, particularly if you've just had a sprint finish and you've got 2 lanes set up, and luckily the kids ran through their own lane, and we can see 2 times on the screen, but we can also see who got the fastest time. Was it lane 1 finisher or the lane 2 finisher? So that's what that's about there. Now the catch with with using the gates for your pack races, if 2 kids run through the same gate together, then it just sees 1 big kid. So obviously that can make it a challenge because now you've got to manually add a time to this race while things are still happening. So the easy way to go and add a time is to obviously hit your shift key, but now it's out of whack as far as where everything else was at. So you'd have to wait until the race stopped, then go and add in an equal time. So let's do that now. So let's say we had 2 kids finish equal first at 7.6. We've now stopped the race. I could add a time up here. So I'm just going to make this 7 seconds and 60. Get yes. Let's put it down the bottom. That's just because how the grid works. But we know if I sorted by race time, we've now got them on the same placing here. And if we start to put some names in, we've got all our mixed age genders going on. We've got our age gender category groupings happening here. Got the outright placing, so first, third, because there was an equal first. Go and select a distance. Obviously everyone got a PB for those things. And then when we're ready, we just go and press save and we'll go and upload. Now because we've got quite a few mixed age genders, it's going to take a bit longer because it's got to pull down all these different combinations and then try and push it all back up. So this screen here, that's how you can work it with your timing hardware. So even if you didn't have your gates, if you were just using your manual start button on the start device, and then the manual trigger button on the start device, then we can do that as well as my shift key. And that's how we're doing things that way with manual. Versus if I wanted to, I could go back, shut off my gates altogether, come back in, not using gates. It does look like it's trying to talk to them still, even though they're not displayed. I have to get that looked at. So that's what the screen would look like. We just wouldn't have those little green blobs on the side trying to tell us that their gates are on. Any questions or thoughts around manual timing? Is everyone pretty comfortable with that one? Okay, that's good. There are some options with these devices here up in the settings area. We go to general and then hardware. We've got the option here to allow the start device trigger tone. So if you've got a speaker, a wireless speaker, or a speaker connected up to your wireless start device, and you only want the sound to happen when you click on start, not on the trigger, then you'd untick that. And it just means the only button on the start device that will make a noise will be the start button, not the trigger button. Otherwise, if I have that connected, it will give me a start and a trigger. So the trigger is handy if you're manually finishing races and you want some sort of feedback that you've pressed the button, then that tone coming out of the device every time you press the button gives you that feedback. So that's why that's a handy thing to keep on if you're going down that path of speakers and so on. Any questions? Would you guys like to have a look at the start line process? So if we're using a web app on a tablet or a phone or a laptop down at the start line to key in who's in what lane, so that when the kids come running through, we've already got who's in what lane and we just need to get a time against them. Would anybody want to have a look at that?
Hey Nick.
Yeah.
I'm going back to the other. I've got my password on that right, but I still can't upload my events.
Sorry, when you say upload your events?
I will download them.
So it will only bring down the actual event data when you're on the night of the event. But it should.
So I can't look tonight for Friday night. I've got to wait till Friday night to do it.
If you want So basically it's got to be on the day that you're trying to run the events if you want to try and upload back to it. So that's when it needs to have that sort of information available. By pressing refresh now will give you these events. If I come through to my race screen, these events here, this is what's relative to what is actually happening tonight.
I don't see anything.
We don't get them here.
Can you see my screen?
Yeah, but I don't have that on mine.
So what do you have in your drop-down list?
I have no events loaded. Click race setup in results HQ season.
Sorry, are you on the same screen as me or a different screen?
Same one now.
Go up to settings. Go to general.
Yep.
Untick results HQ race setup list. Assuming that has a tick on it.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah, so that's unticked. Now go back to your screen.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, we got it.
All right, that's right.
Yep.
Thank you.
Good one.
All good.
What we are done taking.
Okay, so do you guys want to have a look at the start line process? Has anyone ever heard about that and interested to see what it's about?
Yeah, we can have a look.
You do want to have a look? Sorry, is that what you said?
Yeah, please.
Okay, so I've got 2 lanes physically set up here. I'm up to race 16. I'm just going to bring my screen down a little bit. I'm now about to go to the web. Not that one. Get that out of there. Up here. So I'm going to Center Admin. I'm going to log into my demo. In demo, I've got tonight's program set up. That's where I've been uploading some results to. But if I go to Setup, Profile Details, copy my PIN, 6610. If I remove it, then re-add it, it's going to keep coming back as a different combination each time. So get it and reset it if you need to, if you want to do that week by week, but otherwise just leave it as is. I'm going to go to the mobile login. In here I find my demo center, put my PIN in. Just going to make this screen a little smaller so we can see both happening at the same time. So I'm going to click on Run. Just briefly back up here in Settings. My location is front straight and I have ticked on Enable Start Line Process. So front straight, start line process on, and down here I have internet and I'm happy. So with that, with those 2 parameters on, if I come up here and I choose front straight, it's now telling me race 16 is up and it's a 70 meter race 16. If I click on this and I key in some names, so 1, 2, and press save, shortly after, boop, they're appeared over here. Now I'm going to start a race. Clock's going. Meanwhile, I can come in here and put in some new athletes. So I'm going to go 3 and 4, press save. These guys are coming home. I'll start the next race. So they're home. They'll stop soon. My athletes 3 and 4 in that background race. So I'm going to press save. They've come through 3 and 4. I come back here and I press refresh. Now it's telling me that race 18 is the next one. So I'm up to race 17. Race 18 will be this one when I start it. So that started. Come in here. I'm going to put in 5 and 6. These kids come home. Stop that. Yes. Save. Next race. Boop. There's 5 and 6. And so on. So that's what the start line process is about. Obviously, I'm doing this on one screen just to make it easier for us all to see it. Key here is make sure you press refresh and that you key in whoever's on the start line into current and whoever's behind the start line into next. You don't want to get those muddled up or you'll be in a little bit of pain down at the finish line trying to sort out who's actually in which lane. Any questions about that? Everyone's comfortable with that idea? That's good. Just going back to my little cheat sheet. So we've gone through what it's all about in the settings, setup screen, race screen, gone through the yellow with the red, how to manage a missed time, as in we can right click and add a time. Too many times, we can drag and drop times around the place. If we've got a little Ewok, a little small kid, that's that one beam. So I showed you that little icon on the side, 1 red and 3 green above it. Phantom times, so that's where we're talking about here. If I need to press ignore because there's a lot of rain or a gate's playing up for some bizarre reason and you're getting phantom times, no one's running through the gate, but you're getting times, that's what I mean by phantom time. Then if I hold this while it's raining and pouring, like it was today at a carnival, then you can hold this and it won't get any times, release it as the kids come through, close it up again while you've got a break, release it as the last kids, and then finally little Johnny finishes and I release it for Johnny and I've got all the times I need to get. So that's what that ignore button's handy for. So that's the phantom times. Low batteries, low reception, red lane. So low batteries, as we mouse over things, we get a reception, so firmware, reception, battery, and status. So it's telling us what's happening with these gates. If I had an issue with a gate, say let's say this one here was low and I've got enough time to go and switch out the batteries, all I need to do is go over to the gate, pull the lid off it. I'll do it with this one here. Expose the batteries. And so I just pulled a battery out of that one. Took all the batteries out. Change the batteries over. Put the battery case back in. Put the lid back on. This is going to go red soon because it hasn't been able to talk to this gate for 10-15 seconds. So just wait for that to go red so it looks a bit more familiar. There we go. So that's saying now can't connect, it's lost this gate. Finally figured out where all my batteries are, put them all back in, turn the gate back on. It's going to come up red with a few dots and so on. Not uncommon. A good way around that is untick and tick it back on, and we're just forcing it all to go and just do a little refresh, a little resync. I also really prefer to do a little test race. Just start the race quickly, wait for my times to finish up. They all look reasonable and good. Stop it, yes. Delete it, yes. Ready for the next race, and off we go. So I don't have to go back to setup or I don't have to do any of that. Just pull the batteries out, put the new ones in, turn it on. If I need to untick a lane, tick it back on, run a test race, and then we're up and running again. Any questions on that one? Low reception. This is always an interesting one. Depending on the line of sight between your hub, so that little box with an antenna either on it or attached to it over near the laptop. So between that and each device, ideally it's clear line of sight. So a common thing with low reception is that people have the antenna connected to the timing hub, but they have that antenna lined up in perfect alignment with every single gate. So their lane 1 to lane 8 is directly in front, and then their antenna is in line with those. So you can imagine that's not good line of sight to that furthest gate. It's now got 8 other bits of timing gate between it and that antenna, because every other gate's creating a bigger shadow as far as the wireless comms is concerned. It's got all these objects that it has to try and talk through to get down to its buddy at the end of the lineup. So the simple way around that is move your timing hub to either towards the start line or away from the start line, but either way, a couple meters in theory offset from the direct line of gates to allow that antenna to be able to see each and every other gate in the lineup. It's got a clear view of each tube out there on the track. And another good thing to help with this is if you raise the antenna up. So most of these hubs have a little wide extension lead for your antenna. If you raise that up and outside of your metal shade shelter or aluminium shade shelter, that's going to help with 2 things. Metal and aluminium, especially in a cage sort of structure, create a barrier or a blocker of wireless comms that make it harder for that to get through. So by using that little extender cable and putting it up high and outside, then you're going to create a good, clean environment for that antenna from your timing hub to be able to communicate with everything. Plus the height of that antenna now means it's above all the people cruising around and asking for times and getting stopwatches and whatever else they're doing. So it's really good way to get it outside and in fresh air, but above everyone else, and then allowing it to see each and every gate and start device, then that's a really good scenario to work towards. Up high, above the heads, and outside of a metal environment. They're the key things that will help with reception. Any questions about those?
No, all good.
All good? Okay, so we've just ticked over to around an hour 10. We're down to just the last couple points here. Test run at home. Glad to see Michelle and some of the others at your house there, Michelle, are doing some of that right now. They've just got their new gates, so they're getting busy and familiar. That's great. I've only got 3 tubes set up here in my bedroom doing this webinar, so you don't have to be down at the track out in the cold or in the rain or wherever. Just have a couple gates at home, get familiar, and just play around with it. Get comfortable with it all. So that's a good one. Question?
Hey, Nick.
Yep.
When we're on the Friday night, we can't enter the kids' names in first before we run the race, can we?
You can.
You've got
No, I did that just before.
Yeah, he did say you can, but I think we stick with what we
all right.
Batteries. Go and check your batteries. Make sure they're update as in fresh and get them ready. This 3 series that we're playing with, this firmware updates, you don't actually have to go and look if your devices are good as far as firmware is concerned. Back here in the setup screen, as you're turning them on, it's going to check for you. It'll bring up a little red asterisk saying, whoop, your firmware appears to be out of date, just letting you know. Then if you like, if you're not about to go and run races, if you've got some time, it will actually let you go and update them from this screen right here. It will go about getting busy and changing the firmware in that device. And then you turn the next one on and it'll bring up a similar message and you can update that one and so on. So that's what we've built in to try and make it easier to know about firmware. So that goes for your start device, for your gates, and also for your timing hub. All those things will alert you and let you update them from this screen. Then the last update you probably want to be aware of, or the first one more to the point, is if there's a new software update. There'll be a big asterisk down here on your version number, which will let you know, but otherwise you can click on it. It's always trying to take you back to the current production one, as in the 2 series. Because we're running the 3 series, we're a bit outside of that loop of logic. So just ignore that for now until we switch things over. But basically, if you ever needing an update of software, it should alert you, and then it will let you download it and restart the app to get that active. So as far as my little checklist of things go, we've covered them all off. One thing that may help Geelong, because you've got 2 systems, in case you weren't aware, if I come up to settings and go to general, if I use this use pre-configured list, and bring it up, and I go and connect these gates up, I've now got these devices. What this means is it will only ever let this laptop talk to these 3 gates and this 1 gun. So if I'm in setup and front straight's in setup or back straight's in setup and we're turning on our bits and pieces, we won't be cross-pollinating my gates with their system and their gates with my system and their gun with mine and vice versa. It kind of insulates your laptop and your gates to just be talking to each other. So that's something to keep in mind there. Any questions about that? Nope. Okay, so if there's no more questions, I think we're nearly at the end of tonight's webinar. What's your thoughts?
I've got one, Nick.
Yep.
When we go to do our Twilight this season, because we don't go heats into finals, we just do like heats which is ran like a final. Will the computer give us like 1, 2 and 3, or will we have to manually work that out?
As in?
Say we under 8s, we've got 6 heats and we want to find out the top 3.
Okay, good question. So easy one is if you're uploading to RaceHQ, then you just go to your home page, and in your home page you would then just be able to do what you normally do for any given week. So just go into Center Admin, come down here. You've ran your 6 heats of 8 lanes, so that's 48 kids.
Yeah.
So you just come into with results and go to your 100 meters where you've got your 48 kids' names on the screen. There'll be 1 through to 48th.
Yeah.
And then you'll be able to click on position and see who my top 3 is, or my top 8, or however many I need to see.
Okay, so on Twilight night, I'm better off uploading straight away, aren't I?
Well, if you want kids to be able to view their results, yes, and then for you to come in here. So it's that scenario is just the same as any other given weekend. So that's not a particularly different scenario, that one.
Okay.
That'll be the same as just this Friday night. You're not using heats for finals. You're just using heats and running lots of races.
Yeah. Okay.
Good one. Any other questions? Everyone's feeling comfortable with that, then we might call it a wrap for tonight then in that case. How's everyone feel about that? Geelong, you guys there still?
Yeah, sorry. Now, I guess I've got a question here, Nick. So it's Jerry.
Hey, Jerry.
Next step for us, I guess, is to upload the new software, or upload the new version, right?
Yep. Go and download it from the support area.
Anytime?
Yep.
Just do it to the laptops that we use, right?
That's it. So you just go to the support area. So I'm just going to a new browser. So if I just go to even just RaceHQ, that's an easy one to remember, and go to admin user, which would normally bring me to this screen here. Then just go support and put in RaceHQ, and it'll just bring me into the general area. Otherwise, if you open up your 2 series and click on the question mark, it will bring me straight in here as well.
Okay.
So we're in RaceHQ and we just come down to this new 3 series. Here's an overview on the download.
Okay.
And there's a little video and there's the link to download it.
Okay. And Nick, what if it doesn't work for us? Can we go back to the 2 series?
Absolutely. So even in the morning, if you needed to switch out for some reason, you're not happy for whatever reason, then just shut it down, fire up the 2 series, and then off you go. The only caveat around that is 3 series saves to a different area, so that let's say you did 20 races on 3 and then the next 60 races on 2. To upload results, you would have to open up the 3 series and upload those 20, if you weren't doing live uploads, that is. And then open up the 2 series and upload those 60. So you got it, those files will be separate, but that's the only kind of catch with doing that. Does that make sense?
Okay, thanks, Nick. Yeah.
There's a bunch of centres using it already. We've been using it all winter for school carnivals, so it's definitely had its fair share of events put through it. But obviously, the more users and the more feedback and the more insights we get. I already had a crash tonight, as you saw, so I'll be interested to see what caused that. But so did my Chrome. I had to restart my laptop 3 times for some reason before Chrome would be happy. So sometimes, as they say, shit happens, but it's not fun when it does, so try and mitigate that as best we can. Any other questions out there, guys?
No, we're all good.
You're all good?
Down here, Geelong.
No worries. Enjoy your red wine. How about you, Michelle? You're okay? Sounds like it. Okay, well then I'll bid you all a good evening and we'll catch each other on support or trackside or somewhere else next time. Unless there's any other questions, we'll call that an end to tonight. Okay, well have a good night everyone and we'll catch you next time. Thank you.